Greetings, friends. I hope this lesson is about to blow you away because we're about to gather all of the things you've been learning on wind and look at them on a global scale. We're really going to focus on that sun's movement today and the effects that it has on the wind all over the world throughout the year. Let's take a look at a chart. Pow! Take a close look, and first, notice that little sun. It's showing us where the sun's perpendicular rays are falling, and right now, well, at least in this chart, they're falling on the Tropic of Cancer in the north. So in the northern hemisphere, it is now summertime, and you'll notice the chart also says July. We've just had the summer solstice, and it's the hottest time of the year. However, do you notice that there's other places where the weather is different? If you look at the top of the chart, you'll notice a legend, or a key as we can call it, that tells us how hot or cold it is in various places around the Earth. Take a moment to look at all the various temperature differences. This is the farthest north that the sun's perpendicular rays fall all year. This is also the warmest time of year up near the Arctic Circle, and so the Arctic ice is starting to melt and recede. Take a look as well and see if you can spot any isolated areas of warm and cold. You're welcome to grab an atlas or a map to find some specific locations as well. And don't forget, all of these charts are on the drive for you to take a look at your own leisure. Let's move forward and check out another chart. What do you notice first? That's right, it's gotten very cold. It's January now, and the sun's perpendicular rays are falling on the Tropic of Capricorn. In the northern hemisphere, it's pretty cold, but in the southern hemisphere, now it's summer. Did you notice that there's areas where the water is warmer than the land in some places? Did you remember that experiment? Remember the sea and land breezes? We warmed up the earth and the water, and then we cooled them down to check the rates of heating and cooling. That's right, we found out that land loses heat much faster than water. Now take a look at this next chart, and this chart's going to show you something different. Notice that the key is quite simple now. There's just two things to really look at on here. However, we've moved forward in the year towards the equinoxes, and this could be March or September. Notice the sun's perpendicular rays are falling on the equator. This chart shows us the direction of the winds during this time of year, or could I say these times of year. So the key shows us two different winds, variable winds and steady winds. Now steady winds with the red arrows, those are going to blow pretty reliably all the time when we're sitting at this time of the year. But those variable winds, not so reliable, and they may be blowing or they may not be blowing. Take a moment to just check out this chart because we're about to flip to another one. All right, so take a look at this chart. Take a very close look. There's a little bit more to look at in the legend at the top now. It's also showing us rainfall as well besides the winds. But see if you notice any places where the wind has changed. It's now the summer again. The perpendicular rays are back up towards the northern hemisphere. Take a look at the steady winds and the variable winds. Have they changed? Take a really close look at those winds blowing from the equator and towards the equator in some places. Do you notice that there's some winds blowing from the water over land? Those winds are going to carry a lot more moisture in them, and that air can be much hotter since it's so close to the equator. When it blows over land, not only can that land disrupt its flow and make it change a bit more than if it was able to just blow over water, but it's also going to hit things like mountains and drop that moisture all over the land. And we call that, precipitation. Feel free to do the water cycle boogie for a moment. At this time of year, there's areas where the wind blows from the water to the land and drops a lot of rainfall. We like to call those areas tropical. But before I talk about the other interesting areas, let's go to another chart. Take a look at this one. Now we're back to winter. The sun's perpendicular rays are back on the Tropic of Capricorn. It's January. All that warm air is south of the equator. There are some areas still with heavy rainfall. Those ones that still have the heavy rainfall are definitely tropical. But what about the places where there's no rainfall? And maybe you notice some of those places weren't getting it back in the summer either. Those are deserts. Well, I've put all of these charts up on the drive for you to take a look at whenever you like. But I've also put something else up there too. Check this out. It's a blank chart, and this serves a lot of purposes. There's a lot of different things that we just looked at. So why don't you get a couple of these ready? I actually have 3 at the moment. And you also will need some colored pencils and potentially a glue stick, because you might have also noticed on the drive that I've put these. These are wind arrows for our steady and variable winds, and they also come with some suns. You're welcome to take these and a glue stick and make your own charts. Look at that trying to roll away. I've got it. Maybe I want to do the one that we were just looking at. I can paste my sun right at the bottom, and then I can get to work putting some of these arrows on. How cool is that? But I can also take some colored pencils and get to work on putting down those different areas. Oh, that's right. You're saying, how would anybody know what any of this means? Well, I would have to have a key, right? So before you start these maps like I just did, make sure you make a key for each thing you put down. I'm so glad I made that mistake, because now you won't have to. So maybe I'll just take one of these arrows I have to use as an example and put it at the top, and write down that it is a steady wind. I can do the same for the variable winds as well, but I also might want to put the different bits of rainfall that we can get on this map. For example, I know that heavy rainfall happens right here along the west coast of the US. I'll use a dark blue to show that. And then I'll make sure to make a square of dark blue at the top and write that that means heavy rainfall. Now, I don't have to use these pieces of paper for the arrows. If I wanted to, I could also use colored pencil to show the steady and variable winds. I just need to make sure in my key that I use the exact same symbol. Ooh, I wrote that one in the same color as the arrow I used. Now, I showed you rainfall charts and wind charts as well as temperature charts, and you're welcome to make any of those or combine them. You're also welcome to put in places that you might know using an atlas. I'm going to put Richland on this one, so I can take a look as I go through each of my maps how things are going to change for us. And I can't wait to see the explorations that you're going to do as well. Uh-oh, gotta cap that stick. Have fun.